Dang it. It's not even plugged in. Tricked you. Hi, and welcome to Crizzy Books. I'm Crizzy or Criz, but only my homeboys call me Criz. Folks, I am a gamer, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a gamer, and I'm proud. I am also a pretty constant reader, and I'm not afraid to say it. And what I found is that the world of gaming and the world of reading are more alike than you might think. With a video game, you get to play out all kinds of stories and fantasies and different kinds of things, and you're in the driver's seat. Books are very similar, actually, and reading is very similar, where instead of playing it, you think of it. You use your brain, you imagine what's happening, and it becomes your story. Somebody else wrote the words on the page, but you get to experience it in your own way. And what I have found as a reader is that some things that I love and enjoy and experience can be wildly different from the next person, just like in games. So I wanted to make a list of some recommendations. If you like this game, then check out this book. I think that what I have on this list is going to be a great introduction into reading and getting you going on that path of reading more. Or if you're a longtime reader and just looking for something new based on some games that you might like. Or maybe you might like the book I suggest and think, I'm going to check that game out. Either way, it's all encompassing. This is what I do. You know, I'm just helping everybody out over here because I'm a nice guy. I have 5 games and books that I think will pair well together, like fine wine and cheese. Like Mario and Luigi. Mamma mia. So let's get probably the most obvious one out of the way first. Are you somebody who loves retro games? You like the old Super Nintendos, the Sega Genesis? Are you a big pop culture and nostalgia nerd like me? Well, then I think that Ready Player One is right up your alley. This is a very easy to read, very digestible story. It takes place in a virtual reality world and relies very heavily on pop culture references, on video game references, and it plays out as a video game. I read this a long time ago, but when I did read it, I was just getting back into reading, and I really enjoyed it a lot. If you are a big fan of the 80s and 90s, and heck, even the 2000s of gaming and pop culture, I think you'll really, really enjoy Ready Player One. Red Dead Redemption, the first installment of Rockstar Games' Western epic that captured our hearts and captured our minds and captured our thumbs. I probably played 400 hours on the first one alone. I loved that game. I loved that story. I loved the characters. If you, like me, are a big fan of the Western setting of Red Dead Redemption and the characters and the story, I think that you will really, really enjoy A Congregation of Jackals by S. Craig Zahler. S. Craig Zahler is also very well known for some of the movies that he's written and directed, such as Bone Tomahawk, Brawl on Cell Block 99. He also writes books, and they're really good. A Congregation of Jackals and Red Dead Redemption are a lot alike. An old gang of outlaws has split up. Some of the members left the gang and decided to go straight. Start a family, get married, live on a farm, have some dogs, stuff like that. Tried to live a normal life. The rest of the outlaws who are still rolling around in this gang, not super huge fans of that. And so they're coming back to take revenge on these guys who left them, which I think is very familiar to the story of John Marston in the first Red Dead Redemption game, seeking out members of his old gang, getting his revenge, some of them trying to get revenge on him. I think that these two play really well together. On top of that, Zahler is not afraid of brutality. And this book is incredibly brutal. It holds nothing back. Really gnarly stuff happens in it. And I think that if you like the violence that takes place in Red Dead Redemption, you're really going to like the violence that takes place in this novel. This is one of those books that I think is highly, highly underrated and not very many people have heard of. And I will suggest it and recommend it to as many people as I can. I think this is a really great Western novel, incredibly underrated. It deserves your attention. You should check it out. Big fan of the Castlevania franchise. It's been around since the mid-'80s, and it still continues on to today. There's some absolute bangers in that catalog. I enjoy the series. I enjoy the franchise. I like the characters. The original story of Simon Belfort versus Dracula. Dracula plays a huge role in this. So I think that my recommendation here as to what you should read shouldn't really come as a surprise. It's going to be Dracula. I read Dracula pretty recently for the first time after putting it off for a while, thinking that this is an old book. It's going to be boring. I didn't find it to be any of those things. I really love this book. I think it's great. I think for an old original horror story, it is fantastic. It sets up a lot of the lore that we all know of vampires and Dracula, and you get to get that full picture of the character of Dracula. You'll fully understand how that entire story plays out, which I think is going to help you appreciate where you see him in things like Castlevania. As a forewarning, again, it is an older book. This was written in the early 1900s. There are moments where things can be a little dull and it can drag. I think those are few and far between, and this story is excellent, and that you're really going to fall in love with some of these characters, and a lot of what takes place in it is just fantastic. I love it. Are you like me? Do you like punishment? Do you like to be frustrated and throw your controller against the wall? If so, you probably love games that are created by From Software. I myself am a huge fan of the Dark Souls series, and Elden Ring and Sekiro, although I think that this recommendation plays more into the Elden Ring and Dark Souls territory more than Sekiro. There's not a lot of books out there that I'd say would fall into the Dark Souls category, but out of everything that I've read, this one is what I think comes the closest of man goes to area, encounters beast, fights beast, moves to next area. That's kind of what this book is. It's so much more than that. And I think that it's really great, and a lot of people really like it. That book is going to be Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Between Two Fires takes place in France during the Black Plague. We follow our main character, who is a strong, tough, burly man, and his newly encountered sidekick, a young girl. On top of the Black Plague, heaven and hell are warring with each other on the surface of the planet, so there's that. And our characters encounter all kinds of crazy beasts, monsters, fever-dreamy scenarios, and a lot of blood and guts. This book is really cool, especially if you're a fan of like military history or just want to learn more about France during the Black Plague. There's a lot there for you to enjoy. And I think that on top of that, the action and the fighting and the characters are all really well done. I think this is a pretty solid fantasy book with a lot of dark tones and elements and plenty of violence to satiate your sick and twisted mind. And coming in at number 5, I'm just going to go with Battle Royales. We're talking about your Fortnites, your Apex Legends, your Call of Duty Warzones. Any game where you are dropped onto a map and forced to fight everybody else to survive. I could go with the easy answer here and say the Hunger Games. And if you haven't read the Hunger Games, sure, why not? Give it a go. The first one's not too bad. But for me, I think a better recommendation, if I'm going to give you one, is going to be The Running Man by Stephen King or Richard Bachman, whichever one you prefer. This is a story about a game show in a dystopian future America. The point of this game show is to survive. Our main character is given a head start to go wherever he wants within the country, within the world. And eventually he'll be pursued by people who are a part of this game. This story is very high stakes, it's very exciting, and a lot happens. And it's really all about hiding, surviving, getting to the next thing. Stephen King is really known for his characters, but this is a more plot-driven novel. And I think it's a lot of fun, and it does get kind of serious and pretty violent. So if violence is something that you enjoy, I would definitely check this out. But there you have it. So there are 5 recommendations of games that if you like this game, check this book out. If you're a longtime gamer but wanting to be a new time reader, I hope that you found something here that tickles your fancy. If you like this video, go ahead and leave me a comment below telling me what you think. Maybe there's some games out there that you love that have a companionable? Maybe there's a book and game pairing out there that you think go really well together. Let me know in the comments below. And hell, if this video does all right, maybe I'll make some more. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and as always, thank you for watching. Bye.